We are here today to discuss the dynamics of the real estate sector, which is an integral part for achieving the Viksit Bharat 2047 goal. My name is Farid Karachiwala. I'm a partner and the co-chair of the disputes practice in JSA. I specialize in transaction and disputes relating to the real estate sector. I'm absolutely delighted to have with me Mr. Ali Lokhandwala, who's the Managing Director, Lokhandwala Infrastructure Private Limited. Ali Lokhandwala, who's been with the company for over 28 years, has seen the ups and downs of the real estate turmoil and is, in my view, one of the best people to speak on this. I'm going to start directly as to how Mr. Ali Lokhandwala is looking at the emerging trends in the real estate sector and what, according to him, is the growth story of the real estate sector.
Farid bhai, this is, in my opinion, a very, very exciting time for the real estate sector and the entire real estate industry. So there is something happening in all aspects of real estate, whether it be residential, whether it be commercial, hospitality. So everyone is excited right now. It's the developers, whether it's a developer, whether it is a flat buyer or a seller or a fund or institution, because there is just so much, it's so dynamic at the moment and there's so much activity happening at the moment. As you asked as to what are the current trends, I would say at a more micro level, like our city, Mumbai level, I would say one of the hottest trends right now in Mumbai city is the redevelopment of cooperative housing societies, which is pretty much on fire and is going on all the way from South Mumbai all the way up to North Mumbai. Wherever you turn around, there's construction going. The other trends in the current scenario in the real estate industry is that the industry is moving towards a lot of technology and a lot of adoption of technology and virtual stuff, artificial intelligence stuff. There are softwares, there is better ways to enhance the way the process of construction is being done. Buyers are having a better experience of buying a property. There is virtual reality tools like this which were not there earlier, so which helps buyers sitting in the comfort of their home get a good feel of what property they are buying. Again, a lot of softwares helping developers improve efficiency and improve the quality of their construction. The other trends happening for eBay are there is a growth in the co-working and the co-living spaces because of the gig economy. This industry is growing pretty fast. There's other things like warehousing is a very exciting field right now, is growing tremendously because of the logistics and the growth in the logistics industry. The growth of data centers is very large because of the foreign investments coming in also into the data centers, and India growing and expanding to be a large hub for data. Affordable housing, which has always been and will be, and mid-income housing is also growing at a good pace, which will continue to grow at a good pace in India.
So I take it up topic by topic on the basis of which you just made your opening remark.
Sure.
So let's start with the residential sector. The residential sector, as I would put it, is seen a huge growth so far as luxury or ultra luxury segment of housing is concerned. Now we've seen this growth, which was just 6% in 2019. It's gone to about 16% in 2024. What, according to you, is going to be the movement on the residential side of the real estate? Will people still go in for the luxury and ultra luxury housing segments, or will they prefer to go into the affordable segment category?
One of the answers to this is that it will depend on the budget of the buyer whether he can go into the ultra luxury and the luxury segment, or whether, of course, he has to go into the affordable segment. But like you rightly said, there has been a tremendous growth, especially at the micro level of cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, etc., where the luxury and the ultra luxury segments have really picked up in the residential market. As far as affordable housing is concerned, I think it is the growth story for India, and it will continue be the growth story, the affordable and the middle income housing. Because India, as you know, still requires a large number of homes across the segments. Ultra luxury and luxury, I feel, if I were to be more specific, in a city like Mumbai, even if a developer doesn't want to necessarily do an ultra luxury and a luxury project, but indirectly he is forced to, depending of course on the location. If it's a good location, he has to move it further towards the luxury and ultra luxury, because the cost of the project is so high. Because of the huge scarcity of land in a city like Mumbai, there is no clear lands available. The lands, unencroached lands, and other lands that are available, the landowners want a huge price for that. There's also the high cost of construction, the high interest rate costs at which developers have to take lending from banks and institutions or NBFCs in Mumbai. And the high cost of construction and other ancillary costs which are much higher, approval costs, premium costs, etc. in Mumbai, which is automatically pushing up the prices to a level where a developer has no option but to move towards a luxury and ultra luxury housing project.
But what do you see is the growth story so far as commercial real estate in Mumbai is concerned?
This part of offices, part of the commercial real estate is definitely growing and will continue to grow. There is a lot of demand in cities like metropolitan cities like Mumbai, and especially in cities like Bangalore, which is currently seeing a very large demand because of a lot of foreign companies moving in there, setting up their offices. This is not new. It's been going on since many years. But with the initiatives taken by the central government, it has increased a lot, and there is a lot of American companies and other foreign companies coming to India, setting up offices and hiring thousands of employees. So they all require the space. So,
and we've seen that the government of India has done massive infrastructure growth. When we're looking at highways being built, when we're looking at railway stations being built, when we're looking at airports being built, we've seen about 1,300 railway stations being revamped, 84 airports being revamped completely. Do you think that the infrastructure growth is powering the construction center?
so these things, these infrastructure developments done at even the micro level of the city have tremendously increased the demand. So, demand for homes in areas such as Panvel, where the new airport is very soon to be launched, and its surrounding areas, few kilometers surrounding it, many more kilometers surrounding it, has increased tremendously. So, that is going to continue. So, definitely infrastructure helps the growth of any area, metro city, tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, and without that, the kind of international level growth which we want cannot happen and cannot attract international investors and foreign investors.
Do you see any challenges when you go into tier 2 and tier 3? Do you see any kind of power outrage or water shortage?
Yes,
Because I think the
exactly what I was going to mention. That
flip side is that in a tier 1 city like Mumbai, where you have all these kind of facilities, when you go up and when you have to start doing, you may get a lot of land and you may not have fights in order to get your land developed. But there is other challenges that you actually face by getting adequate electricity, water, without which it's not going to be possible for you to come out with your project.
So yes, definitely those are some of the challenges that are faced even today. Tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities are growing and are good right now, and also there's a lot of industrial revolution happening there. So as you know, our Prime Minister and the government has been pushing for an Atmanirbhar India.
Yes.
And we can and we should and we will become a completely self-sufficient country.
Do you think that the government's initiatives by bringing in suitable legislation like the Real Estate Regulatory Act, the Insolvency Code, how has that become? How do you look at those enactments in order to promote the real estate sector? Do you think that those legislations have actually boosted the real estate sector? Do you think that there are other legislations that the government should look at enacting in order to further boost the real estate sector? What is your take on this?
So initially, when RERA was introduced, there was a lot of confusion among the old-time developers about its process and etc. About it brought about a whole change in the way developers function now as they used to earlier. So initially there was some resistance, but I think now very quickly all the developers adapted to it and made the changes that were required, and we're quite comfortable with it now. And I think it's definitely improved and helped the real estate sector. It has brought about more transparency, it's brought about more accountability. RERA is today, every developer who wants to sell their project has to list with RERA if they want to do pre-bookings, etc. It has helped buyers tremendously because now they don't have to just depend on the word of a developer or the reputation of a developer, but they can go on the MahaRERA website and view all the project details, including any encumbrances or litigations or anything which could be a factor holding them back from investing. So I think yes, RERA has definitely helped. RERA is kind of a regulation which was started abroad. Earlier, it was places like UAE had already adopted measures like RERA. India and Mumbai other states were to follow thereafter. So RERA is definitely a very good regulatory authority, and it is giving it's a single window kind of grievance where buyers can address their grievances, and even developers can go to RERA if they have grievances against a buyer.
What do you, as a real estate developer, what would be your ask to the government? What is it that the government should, look at in order to introduce, modify, or build, or what is it that you would like to put forward to the government as that please do this so that the real estate industry, which is the second largest employment generator today, continues to grow in the way that it has been growing?
So, of course, one of the main things is what we would like is more transparency and easier approval process. We want government to also take responsibility. What is happening is still there are delays that happen at the government level, and the government needs to take responsibility that if you don't give timely approvals to the developer, then there are going to be delays. But nobody has really gone up and challenged governments, or for that matter. But government should know that they are responsible to give timely approvals, have a faster, clearer, transparent process. When they say single window system, they should seriously mean a single window system, because even today we talk about single window system, but we as developers are running for 50 different permissions to 50 different locations and to 50 different departments. There are delays in getting approvals. There's not enough infrastructure put in place. For instance, an MOEF approval, which is mandatory for projects over 20,000 square meters. The current process is taking a minimum of 6 to 8 months and could be even longer. And the laws are very strict. So until you get an MOEF approval, you cannot actually start doing the construction at site. So you are having a situation where you vacated a site or bought a land, but you cannot start the work because your approval is taking so long.
So you're right, because we are contributing almost 13% and we are expected to contribute about 18% if we become a developed as economy by 2047. That's the wish list. I think the government needs to step up and to, at least do a few things which you just mentioned in order to give some more faith and give some more boost into the real estate sector. Thank you very much, Mr. Lokalwala, for your insights and taking all the time on this very interesting topic. I'm sure the audience would appreciate your insights and your experience into this. And thank you again very much.